Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team Dire ban. Team ban.
Oh yeah. Geek fam has to be very careful in giving those playmaking pause fours towards Adroit. I think as long as Adroit manages to make that greed work out, they do get a bit of an edge when Bo3 is on one of his signature heroes. That being said, those heroes tend to be the Shaker and the Magnus. Neither are heavily in meta, so I'm not sure if Geek fam is going to prioritize those banouts. And if they don't, then Adroit can certainly just dip back into them. I think the Magnus is one of the more explosive ones. Adroit does have second pick. So in the first pick phase, if neither of those tools are banned out, they could simply go for Mag Troll, Mag PA, or Shaker plus something else, and it might work out just fine. I think Geek fam needs to be able to punish that kind of play from Adroit. That's what they're going to be looking for once more.
You really want to see the Mag, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I know you really enjoyed the Bo3 Mag the other day, and it seems like, from what you've been telling me in the messages, you seem like you really want to see it again. I can't blame you. I want to see the same thing out of Bo3. I hope they pick it up, but at the same time, I wouldn't really blame them for just going into the Earthshaker. In fact, there we go. Geek them respect ban it. They don't want to see it again. And in all fairness, that whole game 2 was all about Bo3. If you didn't catch Bo3, you weren't taking the fight. If you did take the fight, you lost the fight. Geek fam, they will take Tusk for themselves, which has been very, very strong over the past couple days. Adroit, do you want to go into the madness?
I think they tend to try to slide it through. They don't try to prioritize it in the first phase because honestly, who bans it out? Not many teams. If you were going to ban it out against Adroit, you would in the first phase. So you're not likely to see it banned out later on. And I think that's what Adroit tries to do with their draft. I would say just pick it up. I mean, again, Bo3 does tend to just play fantastic. The issue is when Adroit does that, they do slow down their pace of the game, and I think Geek fam is ready for that. The Tusk does tell me that earlier aggression is coming out from Geek fam. Adroit do start off with the Oracle, so they've got that great sustain. They've got a way of keeping whatever core they pick up safe. This would actually make it very easy to pick the Troll Warlord if they wanted to right now.
It seems like that's probably the route they're going to go down. I imagine they probably are just going to go into the Troll pickup right now, and we've seen that quite a few times over the past couple days in the BTS Pro Series, so it wouldn't really surprise us. Adroit are going to have a little bit of a think about it. Even if they didn't pick it right now, do you think it would even get banned in the first place? Because we really haven't seen many teams prioritizing the Troll ban, and yeah, Adroit, they don't even pick it up. They go for the Pangolier first. So it's almost like telling Geek fam, ban the Troll. We dare you to ban it. We've got something better in store.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move from Adroit, just kind of weighing their options there. It is a bit likely Geek fam would ban it. We have seen a couple of times where Troll is banned out. I think in most cases it's when Oracle's already there. So it would be a fairly safe move to make. Geek fam does go into the Disruptor. They're picking up 2 supports first. And these are strong supports. Like Tusk can give you that early advantage. Disruptor has that great AoE control. But there are holes here that Adroit can kind of play around with. Like high mobility heroes aren't going to mind either of these guys. Even if Disruptor gets the call back, something like the Storm could really easily just dodge it or play around with it. Even the Ember Spirit would be pretty decent up here as well. So this kind of early commitment from their support duo from Geek fam, hopefully we do see the backup of a strong core. They do ban out the Troll, so you're not going to be seeing that with the Oracle. Smart move from Geek fam, just way too much sustain there, way too much that they have to worry about if that Troll went through, so they just take it off the map. That's fine.
But it almost seems like that's what Adroit wanted. Because would you not just first phase pick the troll if that's what you really wanted? Like, of all things, when you see an Oracle, the first hero that comes to mind is Troll Warlord. I don't know, it feels like a bait ban from Adroit going into the second phase now.
Team pick. Enchantress.
Oh, okay. Enchantress comes out. That's not a very popular support pick in this current meta. That is a support Enchantress, right? This isn't core Enchantress. I'm assuming the Pango is core.
Yeah, I reckon the Pango is going to be core. The Enchantress is probably the Boomy hero. That kind of makes sense. It doesn't quite fit into this playstyle. At least you have a lot more laning presence in this kind of duo, so you should have a way of really bullying out whatever Geek Fam has. I'm not sure about this one. There's a reason why the Enchantress has kind of tapered off in favor. Of course, could be effective. Geek Fam does go straight into the Legion Commander. A couple of issues with that. You are picking LC into Oracle, so it's not going to be easy to get those dual wins. And the disarm's always going to be good from the Oracle or the False Promise. So the key target for that LT will have to be in the Oracle unless the Tusk and Disruptor get to that Oracle first. And you can't duel the Enchantress. You should not duel the Enchantress because, well, that's still painful.
Here we go again. The Lycan comes out. Adroit just seem to love this hero. They really haven't got the same sort of lineup. I don't really know if I'd say the Lycan lineup is quite as strong. This time around, it feels a bit weaker.
10 seconds.
I don't see anything that really gels with the Lycan.
The only thing I see is really that Enchantress. I guess you can dominate creep early on and kind of build an army there. You have good heals from the Oracle and the Enchantress, although it's more of the Enchantress for like minion heals. That's the only really thing I can see that's working out here for Adroit. I'm surprised they're not going for one of their more traditional game tree kind of drafts. Every single time they reach a game tree, there is that historical tendency for the Magnus PA, the Magnus Troll. They do go for a much more focused approach. It is seemingly a bit less risky, right? You're not putting yourself up to a greedy lineup here. The Enchantress doesn't need too much farm. So if they are going to put Boomy on that, he's just going to have stronger laning presence. That's what they want to maintain here up against what Geek Fam has. They still have that Lycan for early objectives. That can work in their favor as the lockdown from Geek Fam is kind of lacking. You have the Disruptor, so you can call him back into the Static Storm at the very least. But that's basically it. Once that's expended, then you'd kind of be hard-pressed to keep that Lycan in place.
Well, Geek Fam, fourth pick to them now, John. They're going to have a bit of a think about this one. They had to experience the Lycan last game. They didn't enjoy what they saw, and quite frankly, this time around, they don't have as much D push as they did last time around. Whether they even bother focusing on that aspect of the game is a completely different story. You probably have to. It is a Lycan. Geek Fam will take a Terrorblade for themselves, and that is, I believe it was a Raven Classic, wasn't it? Back in the day when Terrorblade was actually good. Now it's back. And Raven actually, Terrorblade is back. So Raven says, I'll take the Terrorblade. Against the Lycan, however. How do you feel about that? Is that a good pick? Because it does feel like Terrorblade can kind of get run over by this Lycan pickup.
5 seconds.
But it takes time to go online, this Terrorblade. That's the key thing here. Geek Fam just needs to buy space for Raven to get big enough. Excuse me. The one issue I see as well is that Enchantress can actually rip through Terrorblade just fine. Impetus is no longer an ult, sure. Like it does have a bit of a cooldown, but you can trade favorably with the Terrorblade, whether or not Metamorphosis is up. And you have to think about Metamorphosis as well. It sets the pace for that Terrorblade's timings. So you have to play around that long cooldown. If you are blown up, then it is going to cause issues. Geek Fam doesn't have any sort of saving support. They don't have the Oracle for themselves, so they're not going to be able to sustain that Terrorblade as much. They only really have the Legion Commander for heals right now. That's something that they have to always be conscious about. That here is not very... it doesn't have a huge HP pool. I'm
curious as well. Like, we saw Carl last game. Started off pretty well on the Pugna. Ended up dropping off quite a bit at the end. What would you like to see him on this game? Like, they banned the Queen of Pain, which is what I would have said is probably the best pick he could have gone for. Geek Fam actually go ahead and get rid of the OD, which is fair enough. You have an LC, you have a Terrorblade, you don't want to deal with an OD on the opposing side of things. But what does Carl play against this kind of lineup from Adroit?
Well, they don't really have the best of lockdown. The Spirit Brothers are all there. I'd say the best one in this case would be something like an Ember Spirit to come out if they wanted to go for that route. They go to Storm instead, which is, again, a high mobility hero, not the best lockdown on Adroit's side. You can kind of reach into the back line. The Oracle is going to be a very prime target for the Storm, I think #1 target for our Storm Spirit in this game. And Adroit does close out their draft with the Alchemist. Oh boy, Alchemist Oracle. We've seen this so many times, Mike.
Here we go. Yeah.
It's just way too good.
Here we go. I was wondering, I was looking at Adroit's draft and I was like, no, this isn't right. It feels very empty. It feels a bit bland. I'm like, well, what's going on here? They've got an Oracle, but with a Lycan? A Lycan of all things? That's what your Oracle combo is going to be? I thought we may see a Husker pop out. That's what I thought. I thought maybe they go for the cheese Husker pick. You've got the Oracle. It wasn't bad. It's the Alchemist. It got nerfed recently. I don't think it matters. The whole map got nerfed. So
yeah, basically.
As far as I'm concerned, Alchemist is still completely broken. With an Oracle to keep him alive through Chemical Rage, and he just passively heals himself up. I don't see the greatest Spirit Vessel carries on Geek Fam either. Like, this is really scary. Adroit could really finish this game quite quickly.
The only real carrier Geek Fam has for like that urn you mentioned or the Spirit Vessel is Zephyr's Tusk, but his farm prioritization is pretty low in the totem pole. So this is definitely something Adroit is playing around. The Alchemist, a lot of people think is like a late game core. It's really a mid game core. It spikes super fast early on if it's not shut down, and then it just takes over. With a Lycan on top of that, these timings from Adroit should be pretty darn good. Geek Fam has to kind of match that pace, but at the same time secure farm for Raven, Ender, Storm. And these heroes require so much farm, like the Storm Spirit and the Terrorblade do require some time to get started up. I'm not sure if Adroit's going to be able to give them that. Probably not.
I don't think they have the time.
It's just because of the pacing that Adroit's draft has. Like, as long as Mac doesn't fall behind in 10 minutes, that's the key time for the Alch. If he's not bullied out of lane within 10 minutes, then he's just going to go into the jungle after 10, farm up his stacks, come out with a Radiance by 15 at the latest. And Radiance on the Alch, you've got a Lycan who'd probably have his Dominator and level 6 by then, of course. You'd be running around, mounting objectives, fighting very early on. You have all the sustain from an Enchantress and from an Oracle. It's going to be hard for Geek Fam to slow that pace.
I certainly agree. I love the draft from Adroit. I mean, I'd hate to play against it as caster. It does look nice. See if they can slow Mac down enough. Cuckoo's apparently already here to say hello. Does take a tier 1 tower hit. Will leave. I don't see any camps being blocked, but we'll see the Radiant Observer Ward already keeping vision to ensure that the Alch doesn't get ganked from the offlane of Geek Fam.
The battle begins.
And even if you do beat him in lane, like, usually Alchemist isn't the greatest mid laner in the world, but he just goes to the jungle, he clears out some stats, and the game's over.
That's the key. That's the key thing for Geek Fam. Like, Carl has to win out mid lane so hard, and you have to maintain control in that jungle. We saw a lot of teams where, yes, they win the mid lane matchup. We have actually seen the Storm against the Alch, and the Storm can actually pretty much just win. But if you don't shut down that jungle, that will be the major issue here. Geek Fam has to get that out. With a Tusk, I can see them getting those rotations out fairly easily. So you do have that on the plus for Geek Fam. A Tusk does have great laning presence, can roam around freely, but even if Carl just wins out here, you will have to have Zephyr get that job done.
We'll have a look at the other lanes for a bit, because that mid lane is probably going to be very, very passive, unless some rotations come in. Raven is going to be up top, of course, on the Terrorblade with Wyman. Raven, of course, just popped the Metamorphosis and basically just going to freely farm with that. we'll see Boomy come in, and that is actually a fair bit of impetus damage already. Of course, Boomy with that impetus doesn't really care. Some fantastic pure damage coming up from that Enchantress. Bot lane, you do see Natsumi up against Cuckoo. You know, funnily enough, this should actually be an easier lane for Natsumi. Like, last time around he was having to verse the Underlord. This time around, while the LC is quite annoying, it's not like the Lycan really cares for trying to kill the offlaner. They just want to farm.
Yeah, and LC can kind of punish when once you have your wolf summons with the overwhelming odds. It's not too much more damage. Lycan's not going to be under too much pressure. You take a look at that positioning from CML as well, just going all the way back, matching Zephyr, keeping him away from lane, which means that Natsumi's not going to be feeling the threat of that Tusk anytime soon.
Definitely not. I wonder though, who will be stacking for the Alk? I haven't seen CML really going for any stacks yet. I mean, it is fairly early to be fair, but do you even bother? Is it necessary for Mac to clear out stacks?
It's a big plus.
Oh, gonna come in. Mac sharp, yes, tag team. Mac should be dead here though. He does stick charge up. Still trying to run away, but it's not gonna be enough. Carl does find the first one. Zephyr will go down, but it is well worth the death.
Yeah, nice big pickup here for Geek Fam. They are definitely keeping a lid on that Alk, so they understand the importance of keeping Mac down. They would like to see a lot more investment as the game goes on, but right now, just killing the Alk is big enough.
Top lane, Bok. Trying to have a go onto Whiteman on this disrupt, but the Bok is falling very low. Raven needed one more hit. Nice body blocks coming out from Boomy, won't allow it, and Bok does manage to salve up. That illusion trying to get the salve cancellation, but it's too late. Bok will be fine. So will the disruptor Whiteman, he'll be fine as well.
Just a bit of back and forth, but you take a look at mid again, Zephyr is back.
But he has no tag team's not a cooldown.
just pushing Mac away from lane. He's not getting last hits.
Denied. I guess that works, right? If you just stand there, you don't need to do anything. And now Vortex comes in, Zephyr said, hey, I warned you, but CML will be around the Oracle. Mac will be forced to salve up a little bit. Everything goes back to normal. And on the brighter side for Mac, I guess, like with Zephyr standing there, he is soaking XP from Carl, which does affect the Storm quite a bit.
Yeah, and those early levels are very important for Carl, so he is going to be kind of split up early on. You could say the same about Mac, because CML is basically just staying here now. You can't leave Mac alone. This is freeing up that bot lane, but as mentioned, Natsumi's perfectly fine one-on-one against Cuckoo, so really it's all about this mid lane. This is where the supports will have to stick, and Zephyr trying to go for rotation does have the shards, but it's harder with CML.
He is level 3. He could go for a snowball. He just hasn't skilled anything yet. And Zephyr, that's really a lot of damage with that spray. CML, he does pick up the kill. That's a very aggressive positioning from a Tusk. CML does make him pay for it.
And they might even find the bounty runes here as well.
Yeah, CML. No, Fortune's End was a bit too quick, and Carl will at least find his. In fact, Cuckoo did not get one either. I believe it was actually denied off by the creepers Natsumi. And Cuckoo may actually drop Fortune's End to fly out. He is healing himself with press the attack. It should not be enough, and CML will be on a killing spree on the Oracle now. The 3-1, the way of Adroit. That is very good news if you have an Alchemist drop.
Definitely is, but Mac is under a lot of pressure again. This time, a lot more supports rotating down to get this kill.
Yeah, but a lot more coming in to help. One will cancel Boomy. He'll follow all the way through. And that's the thing with an Alch, John. Like, he suffers a bit in mid lane, gets levels up in Acid Spray and Chemical Rage, then goes jungle. Like, Geek Fam know this, obviously, they just won't leave Mac alone. But ultimately, Mac is eventually going to be able to go jungle and recover. Although, nice dip in from Carl, it's very, very deep, and Mac doesn't have any help now, and they will find a secondary kill on the Alchemist.
And that's definitely what they need. This does allow them to get a little bit of chip damage on that mid-tier one as well. And Boomy actually drops fairly low, although they aren't ready to commit. This is really hurting the pace of Mac. They do have really good wards now from Geek Fam as well to watch that jungle. And Carl is actually clearing out the camps where the Alk would want to be anyway.
His ability.
That's the idea. Just clear out as many camps as you can near the Alk. Oh. Boomy. Giving free kills away to Carl now. And you want to protect the Alchemist, but not like that. That's not the way to do it. So Matt, he will rotate to the jungle now, though. He's had enough.
Yeah, they did manage to get the D ward on that vision that Geek Fam has, so the jungle is just a bit more open here. But you still run the risk of rotations in. All this time with supports out of those lanes does mean Raven as well. It's something we didn't talk about. On the Terrorblade is actually farming quite well and finds a kill.
Yeah, very nice. Bot goes down on the Pangoli. That makes it a 3-4, much more even game. In fact, Geek Fam is now overtaking in terms of kill score. They also take a 1k net worth lead, which is very nice. And like you said, Raven's freely farming. This is when you look at that last hits board and you see the Storm and Terrorblade at the top, you do get a little bit scared if you're an Adroit fan.
Yeah, they don't need too much farm on their Lycan, but when you're lagging behind like this, you do give a lot for this Terrorblade to play around. Raven is going to be farming into the Yasha, presumably into the Manta style first, unless he does want to go for the SNY, which we've seen a lot of heroes gravitate towards now with this patch change. But the options are there. They aren't threatening this Terrorblade. Raven is actually just left alone up top, so you're losing out farm on Mac. You're letting Raven free farm. Your Lycan is somewhat keeping up in terms of last hits at the very least, but it's not quite there yet, although the Lycan should be online a bit faster. There is some pressure on Natsumi to ensure that these objectives melt early on to buy space for that Alk.
He's trying, but again, you'll see Zephyr rotating on the tusk, gets a very nice shot, already blocking him in, but this time with chemical range, there's a lot less kill potential and Zephyr here to get out there, maybe not. Carl will jump in, the swashbuckler will actually not finish the job. It was a snowball that came out, and in fact, they're going to lose Carl, they're going to lose Zephyr. They were ready for it this time. And glimpse back. It looks like Bot will end up fighting Wyman on the Disruptor. Natsumi glimpse back, but it just doesn't matter. And it's a 3-0 in terms of that team fight. Very nice from Adroit.
It just turns around on a coin flip there. All of a sudden, you aren't killing Mac, Mac's killing you. It took a bit too long for Carl to get in there and back up Zephyr. That does cost him. This will allow Natsumi to start chipping away at that tier 1 up top, and this gives a lot of space towards Mac. He is still fairly far behind. Like, this is not where you want your Alk to be, but when you give him kills like that, this definitely gives a lot more room for him to breathe.
Well, they're going for a duel down a bot lane. They're going to try and get a trade with this tier 1 tower. That's exactly what they're going to do. Start forcing it in. The top lane is still being pushed in by Natsumi, so someone needs to get there and defend. They'll fortify. That should be enough. And you'll see Cuckoo, and he'll go in and take that farm for the team. But it's all distraction. The man they need to be looking for right now is within a very safe range, doing exactly what he needs to do. Unfortunately for him, he didn't exactly find as many bounty runes as he would have liked. I believe he only got 1 that time. But sometimes that's how it works. You can't get all the bounty runes.
No, although,
They thought about going Zephyr.
Yeah, it looked like Bok wanted to, but this is still looking okay for Geek Fam. Like, Adroit with the Alchemist want that net worth advantage. They actually don't have it yet. So Geek Fam still has a lot of leeway here. In fact, they do scout Bok out. Raven's playing really far forward. Forces out the Rolling Thunder, but nothing really comes out from it.
Raven's just doing what Raven needs to do. Keep farming on that Terrorblade. He is still ahead of the Ark in terms of net worth, but that gap is closing in very, very quickly from Mac, who has already queued up that Radiance. Definitely not going to be the best timing in the world for an Alchemist, but You take what you can get. And Geek Fam, they are ensuring they're trying to take as much map control as possible. And that's really how you shut down now. In fact, Natsumi, top lane, going to get jumped. He does take the wolf form. Is there going to be a duel from Cuckoo? He will not make it in time. The TP was just way too long. Although Blink's back. He did get the Blink's back. And with that, the duel will be there. And so that snowball, just giving enough vision for Whiteman to actually get the glimpse off.
Yeah, that's a big kill going the way of Geek Fam once more, kind of taking the wind out of Adroit's sails. They're not finding that network lead they need to. You're not getting enough space with Natsumi's Lycan. He's managed to take one objective and apply light pressure up top, not too much. Geek Fam going to be very happy with the state of the game, 6-6, less than 1k advantage going the way of Geek Fam. That is against an Alk, and that is a very bad state for the Alk. Max still has a lot of catching up.
Nice shot coming out from Zephyr. Booming will go up in the air, does go down. Carl also has a regen in bottle off, so Geek Fam may be very willing to try and go for a team fight soon. It always is nice when you have a regen storm. Max still suffering here. Be a real shame if he died right now. Like, he's getting very close. I say very close, he's still not that close to that sacred relic. Geek Fam are having a look around to see if they can find him, but instead they're going to have to settle for Natsumi. Still a very nice kill if they could get it.
Oh.
Geek Fam, Shards, going to give vision, and Snowball, of course, going to be there. Natsumi will have no way out. Another duel coming. They will secure the kill. The Rolling Thunder will be there from Bok. They want to try and punish for this, but there's only 2 heroes up there for now. In fact, make it 3. The Infantis is there as well. They're going to be able to claim up Cuckoo. But I think you're still very satisfied if you're Geek Fam. You just slow down the Lycan.
Yeah, you're not finding the best trades. They do get the root off onto Zephyr right as the TP was about to go off, so they should find another trade. But these aren't the biggest priority targets, right? Cuckoo is a bit better. Zephyr is definitely not up there, and in sacrifice if you're Lycan and your Elk, not worthwhile.
Yeah, Raven was already there. I didn't realize that Carl would jump down to the storm and pick up the kill as well. Yeah, definitely not worth it at all for Adroit. And like you said before, meanwhile, while all this is happening, Raven's still freely farmed. Like, he is still at the top of the net worth board. This is a disastrous out game. We're 14 minutes in with no Radiance, not even a Sacred Relic yet. He's still 700 gold off. It's, you start to question how effective the out's going to be if he's this far behind.
It's hard for an Alk to bounce back in this kind of deficit, although.
Boomy has friends, Rolling Thunder, and not being committed yet, but they get the Fortune's in. That'll be enough. Boomy picks up a kill onto Whiteman. Nice chance block from Zephyr, just blocking the stairway.
Radiant's bottom.
Carl is around there. They could definitely try for a fight if the push comes in. From the side of Adroit. Into Carl. He does get a vortex off. He's going to be onto Bok, but he'll swashbuckle away. By the way, John, Carl is already trying to go for an Aghanim Scepter.
I like that. I like the Ags on Storm. I think it's going to give you a lot more control. It looks like he did shift out to the Soul Booster, so perhaps still aiming for that Bloodstone in the end.
Oh, right, yeah, the Bloodstone. Yep. Zephyr. Gonna jump in. Boomy will be perfectly fine, and they should be able to actually kill Zephyr. How? Yeah, they'll just leave him be, Zephyr. He'll die. None of his team really care, but just let him die in peace.
He's not a big priority target. We tend to see this with Zephyr. He's just thrown out there to give information. That's information that Geek Fam does kind of maximize well. And Adroit's still not going to be too happy with just killing off a Tusk. He's not worth much. You're still not finding that net worth advantage. Mac is now number 2 though. 1,000 gold behind Raven. So you are seeing that bounce back up. You do have the Sacred Relic up on Mac. Still going to be finishing up that Radiance, but shouldn't take too long. Still, I do worry for Adroit. The timings are definitely off. And if Geek Fam keep applying this pressure, then you'll always see this issue coming up for Adroit. And one of the things with the Alk as well, right? He's a gold sink. So you're investing all of your net worth into the Alk. If it doesn't pay off, then you're stuck with a gold sink that's really not doing anything for you.
Well, you gotta ask how much longer, like, this Alchemist can go on like this. We never see this. 16 minutes in, he's still behind, and now Raven, he's gonna find it. Matt, he still doesn't have the ratings, he can't afford to die like this, but he gets caught out and he does die. Okay, so now it's at least 17 minutes before the Radiance, more than likely 18.
His middle tower is under attack.
This is, yeah, it's problematic, John.
The aggression from Geek Fam is the exact counterplay to this kind of draft from Adroit. We expected so much more space coming out from this Lycan. We expected so many more saves from CML. They're just never there when they need to be around Mac. So Mac is just suffering hard for it, and they still have never punished Raven. You know, Terrorblade has weaknesses in the lane that we have seen teams really force out. Raven has had a free time. 1-0, 3 assists, all the farm in the world. Has his man style up, is working towards that BKB. Once the BKB is up, you have really no hope of just killing off Raven anymore.
They do go for the Roshan. If Mac's gonna die, they may as well give him a second life. I believe it will probably go, who do you give it to? Like, you don't want to give it to the Lycan because he won't have wolf form after he's dead. You don't really want to give it to Mac because he's not doing anything yet. But it looks like Mac has freed up the slot, so he is the one taking it. It seems like they're just more denying the Aegis away from Geek Fam.
It does look that way. I think that's what they're trying to go for. They can't really fight in the pit if Geek Fam chose to force it out. They're just going to be going for it themselves. First, you take a look at Mac, right? After that, the Radiance, he's going to be going for the BKB next, which should mitigate a lot of that control Geek Fam has. I don't think he's going to be big enough in the Alk to really stand there and fight, especially when you consider what Raven has. Like, that BKB is not going to be stopping the physical damage output of Raven, and it is really high as long as he has his Metamorphosis up. So there are still issues with the timing here. There's still a 1k advantage in Geek Fam. Never something you want to see when you're in Alk. You know, you don't want to be even. You don't want to be behind us when you're running the Alk. You want to be 15k ahead at this point in the game, or at least 5k at 17. You know, that's a reasonable amount for the Alk. We're not there. So Geek Fam is very happy with the state of the game. They've really managed to find every single kill they'd want. They have slowed down the pace of Adroit, and Adroit's just not finding the success they need. Like, the push we're seeing from Natsumi is just not great. He takes 1 tier 1, that's it. There's nothing else on the map they've taken away from Geek Fam.
Dyer's
First shot. That's good.
Work for both of us?
Get better.
So Mac's got a second life. That's a positive.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything in his first life anyway. It's like, okay,
it's longer survivability.
Yeah, like, his team has to be around him. That's the key part. Like, every single time he's isolated and alone, for this Aegis to work, you have to have everyone around you.
Oh, Billy gets jumped on. They just want to take out this enchantment, but Bo3 is committed. She's underneath the Static Storm. Whiteman, he will drop. Bot will put on the target, but Carl zips out. They do manage to eventually get that T1 mid tower as well, but Cuckoo, he's thinking about trying to find a jewel. Still doesn't have a blink dagger, however. And while they're making that push, the good news is our Radiance is up.
Yeah, you've got the Radiance at last in Mac, so he can farm a bit faster. He can have a little bit more presence in these fights. Not quite ready to just join up on these team fights, but certainly a lot harder to kind of pick off now. But, you know, from those kills before, Carl already had the Bloodstone, so he's built up in that. They clear out the dominated creep as well from the Enchantress. And Geek Fam's still looking pretty steady. Again, you still have a net worth advantage on Raven. You are seeing Max start to rack it up. Geek Fam has to keep playing aggressive. See, that's the one thing as well. We're talking about Adroit being behind, but Geek Fam needs to maintain that aggression. They do smoke up. They're going to try to find something.
Oh, they have Metamorphosis and they have a Mantra on Raven. He's hitting very, very hard. Still the top of the net worth board, by the way, on that Terror Blade. They're going to run straight into bot. It's not really the target they'd like, but they'll have to take it. It seems the snowball will come out. Bot trying to run. Rolling Thunder won't be there in time. Raven attacking creeps right now. You've got to attack the hero. He does eventually get it. Again, it's not really the target they want, but it does force Mac out of the triangle. So yeah, this is all time he's just not farming.
They deny that area from Adroit, which is still pretty nice, and they might find more if they're not careful.
Radiant's middle tower.
They destroyed the bounties, it seems. The Geek have been very good at denying most of the bounties. And...
Illusion blown away.
Okay.
He was in wolf form as well, just chased down by the storm. Way more mana than you'd expect with that Bloodstone. I believe he was just farming that top jungle and trying to chip away at that tier 2. Doesn't pay off. And now Pink's coming out onto CML.
Well, he tried to go for the bounty and they knew he would. Fate's edict, only going to delay the inevitable. Clumsy he's forced to it off. But the jewel comes out. They were waiting on Tuku.
Storm was coming.
Things get from bad to worse if you are Adroit. And Mac even taking the tomb now to hit that level 15 mark.
You never want.
It's never a good sign. Yeah.
No.
Never.
That's how far behind Adroit's playing from. And you look at the scoreboard, sure, Geek fam, 1k lead, that's not too bad. But it's against an Alk. That might as well be a 10k lead at this point because of how the Alk works. And there's just so much more ground here Adroit has to try to recover. I think they have to play together. You know, they've got to try to find something. They've got to bait in Geek fam to fight their Alk while they have their Oracle around. And if they can get that done, they might be able to win.
They're going for a smoke. They are going to find Carl. If they can keep him stunned up, to be amazing. Tuku is trying to run in and press the attack, and he will eventually. Carl, he cannot get the zip off in time. Great kill. Bot trying to chase down Zephyr now. Zephyr again with a nice shot, but they are still going to continue with this chase. Perked up, forcing Zephyr's going to be there. Zephyr's still running away, but they get the pumpkin out. Still, Raven is coming in now. He does have a BKB available. Raven, he does have mana, but they've got the hit stuck in that static storm. Now they will continue going up to CML. The CML will be perfectly fine as Raven's going to be the one in trouble. He needs to get out, but they do end up killing off Natsumi. Why is Mac here?
Dire's middle tower.
I believe Mac probably should be farming somewhere right now.
I'm not sure why he decided to join in right after Natsumi dies. Just a lot that, well, you know, overall, Adroit does kind of win out in that fight. They only drop Natsumi. They do manage to find a Storm. They do manage to find 2 supports. So they do earn a little bit of gold back. That is definitely time where Natsumi should just be farming up. I believe he is flying out his BKB. So there is some presence here from the Alk now. He can stand in the fight. He doesn't need to worry about any of those tools. The Aegis does expire in the end. But there's a smoke from Geek fam.
Oh, this is perfect timing from Geek fam. They knew the Aegis was going to expire, and they do spot out. Mims is there. He needs to pop the BKB.
Oh,
he does.
no.
That's a 10-second charge gone. Mac is having one of the roughest games I've ever seen. Like, it's not exactly his fault, right? He's just playing his hero the way it's meant to be played.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
But they are getting everything out of this Alchemist.
Yeah, they definitely are. They've slowed down Mac to the point where he's just so far. I say he's so far behind. Again, he's 1k behind, but that's an Alk. We see this every single time. When an Alk is 1k behind, it might as well be 10. And Geek fam is really shutting down the map. They are playing quite well. They have gotten a lot more control out. They have given so much space to Raven to get so big that he is definitely giving it back. He's working towards that Scotty, and with the added effects of the Scotty, you're losing a lot of that regen on the Alk once that's up. And it will be up soon. Like, Raven's farming pace is pretty darn good.
You'd almost love to see someone get the Vessel as well, just to really give it to the Alchemist. Like, starting plus Vessel, that would be really devastating. They aren't doing that though. Like, Zephyr is going to go for the Vladimir's offering.
Radiant's middle tower
is also pretty nice. Perhaps they just don't feel like they need the Vessel. Perhaps it's just pointless. Like,
I mean,
we can take care of Mac without it.
They have been taking care of Mac without it anyway, so I can see the logic in just kind of letting that be. There is a smoke from Adroit. They might be in a good position here. Maybe?
They do get up the high ground. Cuckoo gonna get swashbuckled. The glimpse on bot, but he got the rolling thunder off. Now to chase and find somebody, and Raven would be the best target possible. But, no, they back out. Cuckoo now, he's going to chase forward. He wants to find somebody to pick off. He doesn't have a blink, but you can really depend on Zepping here to get the shards off. As he sees Mac, he won't get the shards he wants. Carl's just going to go ahead and take a dominated creep and get himself 200 gold. And again,
what did we just watch? Was this like, did everyone just decide to go for a short marathon? Just a bit of a jog?
Carl has found Boomy, again trying to go after a bounty rune. Glimpse back from Whiteman. It's very hard to kill off Boomy with untouchable.
It's a process.
Carl does not give up.
Oh?
Oh, he messed up. Carl does get it eventually. That's why you never give up, kids. Keep chasing.
It takes a while. They find a kill. Adroit with a wasted smoke, wasted shapeshift, are going to have to find a different way to find those kills on the map. Right? This is going to mean that an objective is probably going to be taken here by Geek Fam.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Raven taking a T2. Mac trying to go after an AC. Let's have a nice orb of destruction. That's always good. Top lane also being pushed in by Natsumi. He's applying pressure. He won't be able to finish off the tier 2 tower, but it should be denied anyway. It's going regardless, but you would have liked the gold. Raven, he won't even deny it yet. He'll just leave it.
Yeah, just might as well have that up there, right? Like, I don't think, well, you know, it's always nice to get the deny off, but he'll probably come back for it. There's not much control from Adroit, so it's very risky for them to get into that area of the map. And Geek Fam now with a 3k lead. It just feels like they have everything they want. Like, Adroit are still constantly pouring in all their resources towards Mac, so they are still trying to make this Alchemist work. I'm not sure at what point that really shouldn't be the case anymore. Like, he's just way too far behind as an Alchemist. This is probably the time where you try to maybe redistribute that farm, maybe give Natsumi a lot more to play with, and then he might be able to take these objectives a lot safer.
But if you don't invest in the up, what do you invest in? Like, Natsumi is great and all, but even the Lycan drops off.
Yeah, it's just a challenging situation all around for Adroit. You've got the Scatty up now and Raven as well, so if he does join these fights and Max around, even Lycan, right? Like, he has pretty good regen coming in. That's not going to be there with a Scotty up.
Oh, they're popping Wolf form. Raven, he has the Scotty right now, but they go after the Disruptor. It's a nice support pick-off, and they do take it. Natsumi going to continue chasing for more. They need everything they can get, but this is very risky to go for as Zephyr does avoid the rolling boulder, and Carl jumps in. I think he wanted that regen room, but this could be disastrous. He does get away before the sun hits, booming out, being targeted by Raven. I think he's going to target someone else now, Raven. He'll go after that. Meanwhile, Natsumi does get drilled up during the false promise. This should confirm the kill, but they do disarm the LC. Still Natsumi definitely should just die, and does.
Here's a blade.
The chase goes way too far. And Raven will get started on the Roshan with that meta. Disruptor will be back up in about a second. It feels like you have to fight this, but I don't know if you can. Carl will jump in, get stunned, but it lasts literally no time. And, well, now you have Whiteman there with Static Storm still.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Mac throwing these acid sprays are slowing them down. I think it's speeding up the Roche.
Yeah, Roshan Gonna go down. They do also find Zephyr, I believe, who did snowball in, but now they do go after Bok on the Pangolier. Static Storm doesn't really connect on anything. Meanwhile, Boomy does find 2 kills. This looks okay for the side of Adroit, and they also get the Aegis tonight. There's no meta on the TV, so this could be dangerous for Ravens. He can't really help his team out. He'll try to man fight now with the Sunder. Going back onto Matt. Vortex there. Matt still taking a lot of damage down the face. Edie will not allow Raven to attack. He needs to get out. He'll probably BKB and man up. Matt throws a stun, but he does go down. Now they take some more. Jewel is back up by Cuckoo.
Nice try.
Buyback comes out from the Oracle. CML. I'm not sure if the buyback is really worthwhile. I guess he did have false promise, so maybe they find Cuckoo? Cuckoo is just very tanky though. Clumsy net gonna be there. Still trying to run. Does end up going down. Zephyr snowballs in. They really want to stop him from getting these bounty runes, it seems. And they get him regardless. Zephyr gonna give another kill away. Unless Carl helps out. He does pop his rune and tries to go in with the bottle. He does eventually get CMO. They can tie back on the Oracle. Now Bok gonna be chased down and does get glimpsed back. And it's just a messy team fight overall, but it's working out in the favor of Geek Fam Pack Boomy. Look at Carl, he just mans up. Hit me.
Oh man, Geek Fam just starting to tease Adroit a bit here. As they do maintain that lead, they did find everything they want. They've got all the kills they needed. They forced the buybacks out. They take that tier 2 objective now. No outer towers left for Adroit. The Geek Fam are just in control. They have been in control from very early on. Adroit, this investment in the Alk not paying off. We expected so much more from Alk Oracle, from the potential of just staying alive and just laying on the damage. They haven't been able to do so. And I don't know if there's any way back. Like, if Mac can actually recovery farm, then there is potential there. It's just that he's not recovery farming fast enough. He's just so far behind that Terrorblade consistently. I don't think Mac has ever been #1 in the net worth board in the entirety of this game on an Alchemist.
But he's got an AC now, John.
Love this part.
It's probably not going to change the game very much, but he's got it.
Well, something.
It is something. Bok rolls the thunders, rolls back home. Geek Fam continue to farm up. Raven still at the top of the net worth board by a mile, and he will have an MKB hub soon.
Oh boy.
Things are getting a little bit scarier. And this is why you remember Raven as that Terrorblade player. He knows this hero like the back of his hand. And looks like after this ancient... No, he hasn't. He's 4-0 with 7 assists.
Here I am.
Just no punishment from Adroit. Like, again, the laning phase is when you do bully that out. They just don't. Raven gets way too much. I believe he actually has that MKB. There you go.
Yeah.
MKB's up. Butterfly's up, coming up next. Can you even match up with what this guy has? I really don't reckon that they can. Mac is keeping pace, but yeah.
I didn't realize this is what Alchemist looks like, John. So it must be a new cosmetic for Alchemist. He looks pretty cool. Where do we buy it?
Which one?
I like it.
Dire's top tower.
It's the one that looks like Terrorblade.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. If only he had Terrorblade's farm as well.
They're gonna commit a lot here to try and go into Zephyr. So Zephyr forces a Rolling Thunder, forces a Wolf form, probably will die if he doesn't have Snowball. He is still surviving, however. They do finally get it, but in the meantime, CMO's lost his life and they're going after Matt. Matt needs help. His team refused to help him. It was like Carl last game on the Pugna. They're just leaving him behind.
And this is going to be a very straightforward high ground push. Mac is forced to buy back. I don't know if you pull back as Geek Fam. They still have Metamorphosis up.
Yeah, why would you? You've got BKB as well. 9-second charge skill on Raven. He hasn't found the necessity to use it yet. Oh, the ult is coming out from Carl. Silences also outstuns himself. That's a dieback. It's an old trick, and Carl gives him the tip. Zephyr will give the tip back to Carl. I mean, that's a revenge tip right there from Carl, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And this game, I mean, it's over, right? Like, it's...
No,
how do you come back from this?
It's a dieback on Mac. He's their highest net worth. The next thing in line is the Lycan at 13k. That's nothing. 34 minutes in.
He tries his best to get a slice of Vice up.
Radiant's bottom barracks. Radiant's bottom.
I don't even know if that would be enough. Like, you've still got so much to worry about. It's not Raven, it's Carl, it's Cuckoo, it's Zephyr's too hard to kill. Now, what a Vortex coming out, that's the Aghanim comes to upgrade onto 3, and they just destroy them. Cuckoo gets the duel off. Boomy will die one more time, I believe, that they don't win the duel, but the Walrus Punch will get the job done. The GG has been called. And Geek fan, they weren't the favorites before all time.